Thank you for having me. My name is Kristen Hopkins. I am the Natural Resource Manager for Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation. Uh, Basically, that is the practice of actively managing wild areas, native areas, natural areas within our park systems uh, to create more resilient systems, healthier systems, um, and and gear use towards a more conservation minded focus. But today, I want to talk with you guys about a pretty cool project. At least I think it's pretty cool. The Murfreesboro Indigenous Plant Project, or MIPP, as I will be saying from here on out, because that's quite a mouthful. Um, it's about inner basin plant conservation. It's about using native plants in your yard. It's about solutions. So as I said, this is me. I am the Natural Resources Manager for City of Murfreesboro Parks and Rec. This is my contact information. If you have any questions after this presentation, if you want to talk further about the project, if you want to get involved, just shoot me a phone call, text, email, whatever. All right, so MIPP is an effort of Outdoor Murfreesboro. Outdoor Murfreesboro is the environmental education, natural resource management, adventure recreation component of Parks and Recreation. Um, we have a lot of great programs in parks. I love Outdoor Murfreesboro being here. I think it's a wonderful program that the city has, and I am here to make sure more people know about it. But for MIPP, this kind of started with me wanting to um, create an opportunity for people to use native plants in their landscape. And one of the major problems with that is not only the question of, well, why native plants, but also it's rather hard to find them. And for me, being mostly a purist, I tend to push for straight species and not cultivated species. Um, I'll explain a little bit more about that later, but I mean, I say that, but in my own yard, I do have um, some cultivated species, and I do have some even non-native species. I know, bad, but but I'm slowly moving towards a more native, 100% native landscape, and it's going to take many years. But I really love gardening, so it's a good project for me. Um, but anyway, for this project, we decided to set some goals that deal with not only providing these things, but also working towards preserving what we're losing quickly. So we are losing a lot of our native wild species. We're losing a lot of our insect species, a lot of our bird species, and really, we all know the problems, but really the best solution and the easiest solution really is to start putting native plants in our landscape. So we developed these goals with that in mind. We wanted to provide primarily locally sourced native plant material. That's material that has within its genetic code regional and local variability. So, for instance, say a bunch grass found in Kansas is going to have slightly different adaptations than a bunch grass here in Middle Tennessee, because they're two totally different systems. So we want to be able to provide those things for our citizens. We want to provide a reliable source of native plant material. We want to promote developing habitat corridors between yards and our open public spaces. Murfreesboro has many parks here, and we have several hundred acres of natural areas that we are fortunate to have. And to keep those natural areas resilient and healthy, we need to start developing those natural corridors between them. And the best way to do that is, again, native plants in the landscape, and also to halt the decline of our native plant and animal populations. We've all seen the figures. It's kind of scary. And again, this is one thing that we can all do to help that. So with those goals in mind, we put together some objectives. We want to responsibly collect seeds and occasionally a few plants from our local native populations. We've been, as I said, we've been fortunate to have a lot of natural areas within city limits and even outside city limits, partnerships that have those natural wild things going on. And so, yeah, we've been able to collect a little bit here and there from our park systems. So we want to also propagate regionally appropriate species for parks restoration projects. As we started doing these restoration projects, we're like, oh, where are we going to get the plants? And that was kind of a big driver too. We are fortunate to have a really reliable native seed source, Roundstone Native Seed. They're in Kentucky. They're very good to work with, and they have a lot of integrity, and they have a number of different species that are regionally appropriate to our area. We also want to preserve our local genotypes in long-term storage for conservation. As we see development continue to happen around here, we are going to be losing a lot of our wild populations. And one of the solutions to that for future restoration, which will happen, is to store these things appropriately. And while we don't have the ability to do that, some of our partners are working on that. And we would love to be able to contribute some of our local species and their seeds to that project. So as we collect, we will be setting aside some for long-term storage. We also want to educate and engage citizens on our special plant communities that we have in this area, some very globally rare systems here, and also some of the issues we're facing in our community and opportunities for conservation. We also want to provide regionally appropriate native plant material. And we also want to provide planting guidance to citizens. And one of the things that I did when starting this project was looking around and seeing if other municipalities were doing this, and not a lot were, but I stumbled across the Greenbelt Native Plant Center in New York City. And that is a project of the New York City Parks and Recreation Department. And when I was looking at their programs and the projects and everything that they were doing, I was like, oh, that's it. So we are modeling after this program a little bit, and I would encourage you to look that up and check out the good work that they're doing. Okay, so why are we talking about native plants? Maybe you're familiar with Dr. Talani. He is all over the place right now, talking about his books and his work and his attitude and mottos, and he has a lot of great quotes. And if you like good quotes, I encourage you to read this book or Google his presentation, Dr. Doug Talani presentation on YouTube. I think it's recorded on there. And I'm not going to tell you what his presentation is. He can do that better, but he is an entomologist. And so his knowledge is in insects, and his whole presentation is about the interaction between native insects and native plants. And those things have been growing up together for millions of years. And so we are talking basically about the foundation of the food web, of the energy system. And so with the loss of habitat, with the massive introduction, quick massive introduction of invasive plant species not from here, we are seeing a drastic decline in insect populations. And so the use of native plants in our landscape is almost, I would even say absolutely essential at this point. As this quote says, we are responsible for negating the consequences of our actions. And so, yeah, I would encourage you to either read this book or watch his presentation. He does an excellent job of really explaining in simple terms that using native plants in your landscape is a simple solution, and it's also a necessary one. And also, we use natives because, I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, they can be in your landscape as wild or as managed as you want them to be. We see a couple of examples here, like in this top picture. That is, I believe, a daylily that is not native, and whatever irises they are, I'm pretty sure they're probably not native. But everything else here is native, and it's okay to use non-natives in your landscape. I have Gerber daisies in my land. I love Gerber daisies. But as long as the vast majority, over 85 to 90% of your plants are native, you are going to be building a sustainable ecosystem. Whereas currently most of our landscape, private landscape, is an ecological dead zone. Um, so yeah, I mean, this can be something that you don't have to be afraid to pursue in your own yard. As you could see, these are very beautifully maintained landscapes here, and they don't have to be wild and junky as some people think that they can be. And so, to further emphasize the individual need for action, approximately 86% of land in Tennessee is privately owned. That's a very large chunk of land. Presumably, the remaining 14% is public lands, parks per se, and other things that maybe we don't know about. But yeah, so very large, like especially in the east, very large forests preserved. Here in Middle Tennessee, we have several natural areas that are managed by TDEC, that are managed by state parks. These areas are we need them because most ecosystems can't survive well in an island. There has to be a free exchange of genetic material to be healthy. So when we're talking about 86% of land being owned by private individuals, we're talking about a serious need for individual action. But also we can help by connecting these large portions of land. We can bring them together through our yards. Yeah, we have to get over all the roads. Those are naturally fragmenting, items. But we're a highly ingenious and imaginative race. We can do it. But for the individual private landowner, especially in our urban areas, native plants in your yard is a very easy solution. All right, so some of the things that we've managed to accomplish. We're going into our second year. We started this a little over a year ago, and we had 35 species growing. A lot of those were from seed that I either purchased from Roundstone, that we collected in parks, collected from the side of the road to our danger, and also some things were donated to us from the nursery, like the East Tennessee Nursery from Tree Day. We had leftover trees and shrubs from Tree Day, and so we had several species of little tiny saplings that we grew into larger things for the public. We're also developing a native tree and shrub nursery in partnership with our stormwater program. These are primarily for our neighbors who live along waterways, creeks, and the river, to help kind of bolster that riparian zone. We're also talking with other potential partners to expand the program, get it bigger, just get it out there more. Southeastern Grasslands Initiative is the partner I was referring to that will be starting a seed bank soon, and they have a very big facility that they just recently acquired to do that. So we're hoping to partner with them on conserving and preserving some of our seeds. We had our very first plant sale a few weeks ago, actually. We had a great turnout for our first time. I was really pleased. We got 433 native plants out there into our community. 66% of those went into Rutherford County, and roughly half of those went into Murfreesboro city limits. So that was a great turnout, and we hope to continue to do this at least twice a year, have a really big plant sale, and grow for that. Well, as with any project, we always have needs. When we're doing our property surveys for private property owners, we're always looking for people with pretty solid plant knowledge to help us with that. We always need volunteers for nursery maintenance, for regular and consistent seed collection, for seed processing, just for general nursery upkeep, repotting, and things like that. We're also working on uh, enhancing our GIS capabilities. We have a really excellent GIS team in the city of Murfreesboro, but we ourselves have to develop the tables and the framework for how we want to disseminate this information on where the plants are going, where we're collecting seeds, making sure we're not collecting too much from here one year. Let's go over here this year. So just kind of developing that, and also equipment and supplies are always needed. Also, if you're a private property owner and you have pretty good habitat on your property, we are asking if you would be willing to let us come to your property, educate you on what's going on there, what's in your habitat, what kind of plants and animals live there, and also possibly helping us collect a little bit here and there. Again, our promise to you is that we will be very careful and intentional about how much we collect. It is the last thing we want to do is to put the population in jeopardy by taking too much or taking all. We would never do that. We are wanting to collect for the future of these species so that they have a chance. Say in 50 years, that land may be developed and all of those things that were growing there will be wiped out. But if we are diligent and again intentional in our purpose to collect these things before that happens, we have the genetic the means to replant those somewhere else. Okay, and that's the end of my presentation about our project. Again, this is my contact information. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you would like to be involved in any way. I would love to have you. Thank you very much.